back with Zach Burton to talk about riding in Hong Kong, your career to date, and just where you're at. You started off your apprenticeship in Coffs Harbour, and then made that transition to Brisbane, winning the apprenticeship as an apprentice. What was that like?
Yeah, it was good. I really enjoyed my time in Queensland. I think it really helped my career as well, being based in Coffs Harbour and riding all the way up and down the north coast of New South Wales and southeast Queensland. I was able to ride at a lot of different tracks and gain a lot of experience and meet a lot of people. And now whenever I travel throughout the world, and I've always got to go and ride in a new place or at a new track, I seem to be able to adapt to the conditions quite comfortably and quite quickly. So, it's those early days that probably set the foothold for where I've ended up now.
Yeah. Having such a lot of success early, did you find that hard to deal with initially?
Not really. Obviously, I was always quite a confident person, and I just loved doing what I was doing. I loved getting in the car and going to the races every day and just riding and competing. The great bunch of boys to ride with, and obviously the success helped. And I was able to spend a little bit of time in Victoria, down in Melbourne as well, under Robert Swerdon before I moved back to Queensland in the warmer weather. I couldn't handle the cold in Melbourne, and it's still something I haven't got used to. I really don't like it. Then I was with Johnny Wallace there on the Gold Coast for a while before I came to Sydney, and then went to Hong Kong. But yeah, I've been very lucky. I've had a great career. Getting off on the right foot obviously gives you a little bit of confidence with where you're at and your ability in the profession that you're doing, and helps you continue to push yourself to try and get to the top.
You won, was it your first Group 1 in the Sires, on Excites? What was that like?
Yeah, I remember it was a messy race. I was back in the field. One of the horses, I think it was in a box seat position, tried to take on the fence at about the 600 or 700 metre mark, and it really scattered the field. But what it enabled me to do was go from second last, and as the field all sort of got sprayed out across the track, I was able to dive up through the inside and ended up, I think, about 5th or 6th coming to the corner. So it basically won the race for me. It put me in a position where I was able to win, and to get that first win on the board was great, especially for the late Guy Walter. He gave me a lot of support when I came to Sydney. He was a great man. He was a good mentor in a way as well. He always liked to take someone under his wing and be somewhat of a father figure. So to win my first Group 1 for him was it was a special moment. It was good.
Excellent. You seem to have had a lot of success on younger horses with 3-year-olds and those 2-year-olds. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. Maybe they have to be ridden in a little bit more of an aggressive manner. You sort of got to force them a little bit to do what they've got to do because they haven't quite learned their trade yet. And I feel in a way I can be at times somewhat of a positive type jockey. I'm trying to be a bit proactive and put them into the race and make them do it, and maybe that helps them to switch on and keeps them focused, and then they can go through with it. Could have something to do with it. It could just be a fluke. I don't know.
What's caused you to be that way? You just always ridden that way, or is that something that you're focused on to try and be a stronger, more forward jockey?
I think, and it's probably quite evident in Hong Kong that the best barrier jockeys, or the best jockeys that get the horses out of the gate, seem to be most successful. Getting a position in Hong Kong as quick as you can in the best position as you can is key. It's vital.
Yeah.
In saying that, all those years I rode in Brisbane for, those guys up there really get out of the gates, and they're quite aggressive, and they get their horses running, and I think that's probably where it stemmed from. I've always been very good at getting the horses out of the gates. It's one of my strengths, and when you've got something that works for you, you may as well play to your strengths.
Okay. So from riding in Sydney, Queensland, to then riding in Hong Kong, just how different is it?
It's a lot more intense in Hong Kong. Obviously, the races themselves are very competitive. The handicapping system is really tight. There's a large spread between the horses in most of the class races, but a lot of our races are really keenly contested. There's only a neck or half a length, maybe a length, separating 5 or 6 horses at a time. And the thing in Hong Kong is you just can't make a mistake in a race.
Yeah.
You can't give away any ground. You got to make all the right decisions at all the right times. You know, you don't just get to jump out of the gates, sit there in your position and then worry about it the last quarter.
Yeah.
You've got to be thinking about where you are throughout the whole race, who you're following, where you need to be, what you need to do, the tempo, all those types of things. There's a lot more going on in the races there. They're a lot busier, and I think you know, you just got to be more on the ball. Whereas, yeah, back here in Australia, it's somewhat more relaxed.
Yeah.
You know, you get out of the gates, they're not in as much of a hurry to find a position, and then once they're in their position, they generally just stay in it until, you know, they get to the 500 or 600 metre mark, and then they start to worry about whether the sprint goes on. And you know, there's just not the the competitive, intense nature to the races back here, and I suppose that's a result of the smaller fields as well.
Yeah.
You know, we have 12 runners in our races at Abbey Valley. It's a very tight track, so you know, there's a lot of pressure on there, and at Zacfeature1 we have 14 runners, and I think competition, bigger fields creates more competition, and then therefore there's more pressure in the races.
Yeah.
And I think they're the differences between what I find in Hong Kong and here in Australia.
Being in Hong Kong, you have to book all your own rides as you don't have a manager. How much time do you get to put into doing the form, and how do you attack that?
Well, we only have 1,200 horses there, so you get to know the horses quite well.
Yeah.
All the information is on the website. They've got the track work on there, they've got all the barrier trials, they've got when they swim, the vet records, you know, what they weigh, everything is there for you, so it's just a one-stop shop to go to, so it's very easy in that regard, whereas I know here in Australia you've got different websites, different states.
It's a lot more spread out.
Yeah, it's more time consuming, but because you know all the horses, you know, it becomes second nature.
Yeah.
You know, quite often you can just go to the races and you probably don't really have to do too much form. You really know what you're up against, but they have a racing show called Racing to Win, which is on the night before, which I watch as well. And you know, although I might only pick up a couple of little things off that from interviews with other jockeys and trainers, and you know, the opinions of the experts on there, it's all those little things that help. But yeah, I go and watch obviously the replays after every race meeting.
Yeah.
I do the videos of the horses and the key runners in the races I'm riding in before I go to the races. Obviously, speed maps are quite important. You need to know what position you're going to be in and where the opposition is going to be. And you know, in Hong Kong we have a lot of rail movements. The rail continually moves, and that can quite often throw up some type of pattern in the way the races are run, so it's important to take that into consideration as well. But you know, at the end of the day, you've got to know what your horse's strengths are, and first and foremost ride to your horse's strengths, and worry about everything else secondly. But you've got to be very mindful of where all the other competitors are in the race as well.
One of your amazing feats was knocking off Dougie White in his 13-year run. Now you've got Moreira there. Who do you respect as the best jockeys around the world that you ride against?
Yeah, well, obviously I think you're very lucky here in Australia. There's some fantastic riders here. You know, obviously, Huey Bowman and James are going to be out at the races today. They're outstanding jockeys. Tommy's a great jockey, Blake's a great jockey, and you've got Damien Oliver and the likes as well. But from throughout the world, I think Moreira he's an extremely good jockey.
Yeah.
You know, he just doesn't make many mistakes. He does everything right. He's got the right physique to be a jockey, and great style. You know, yeah. The only thing that surprises me with Joe is that he rides in such a short rein. Throughout history, all the best jockeys in the world have ridden on a long rein. But that's, I suppose, the South American style that he's grown up with, and you know, he gets horses to settle. He's very good, but you know, you've got your Christophe Simeons, you know, your Ryan Moores, your Tories, your Pelliers, all these jockeys that I get to ride with on a pretty regular basis. You know, you get to learn so much from them, and they're all great jockeys in their parts of the world, and they would make it anywhere in the world. You know, it's hard to say what separates an excellent jockey from a good jockey, but the horses just travel for them. They seem to have better balance, better hands. They just don't seem to make the mistakes. it's great riding with them because you get to learn a lot, but it's also tough riding with them because they don't make mistakes. It makes it harder to win races, but like I said, I think competition is good. It improves me as a rider, it improves everyone else as a rider, and the standards of riding around the world.
Who would you say would have been your biggest influence on your riding career?
Geez, it's hard to say because I was somewhat of a nomad when I was sort of as an apprentice. I was travelling in the car, going to different meetings all the time. I never really had a mentor as such.
Yeah.
The jockey that I admired the most when I was an apprentice and based my style on was obviously Corey Brown, and he's obviously a terrific guy, and I used to love the way he sat on a horse. His seat was outstanding, his style was beautiful to watch. And obviously as I grew up and got older and moved to Sydney, we've become good friends, which was great, and we still are today, but he was the one jockey I admired the most from when I first started.
And he's a good bloke.
He is a good bloke, so a lot of people you speak to are very disappointed when, in a sense, they meet their idol or someone that they really respect. Their personality isn't what you think they should be, and you get quite disappointed. But luckily for me, when I met Corey, it wasn't like that. He was probably a better bloke than what I thought he would be, and he deserves all the success he gets as well.
Excellent. Just some more today racing. Do you find that less racing in Hong Kong is better? Do you enjoy that you only ride 2 days a week? If you to come back and have to ride 3-4 days a week, what do you prefer?
I prefer only riding 2 days a week. Obviously, it has its benefits, and the downside is it's harder to maintain your weight. Yeah. Obviously, with the bigger break between meetings, my weight sort of goes up and down a little bit, and it becomes a constant battle. Whereas if you're riding every day, your weight's on a more even keel, and it's easier to control. But I actually prefer only riding 2 days a week. I call myself a part-time jockey these days because of that fact. I get to enjoy my life outside of racing as well, so I've got a good balance. Whereas when you're in Australia, if you're not at the races, you've got to go to the barrier trials, you're always stuck in the car, driving somewhere, you've got to drive track work as well. It never ends. And then when you've got your carnivals, you're always flying interstate, which takes a lot more out of you again, whereas in Hong Kong, I live on the race course at Sha Tin.
Yep.
I ride work 6 days a week, but I might only ride 2 horses most mornings. I might ride 6 to 10 horses a couple of mornings a week. And the beauty about it is the trainers ring you the afternoon before and say, I've got 1 horse for you to gallop or 2 horses, what time would you like to do them? So you say, I'll be there at 6 o'clock, and 10 past 6, you do your horses, you can go home.
Do you think that helps you to remain a little bit more hungry because you are only focusing on the 2 days? Yeah,
of course. You have that hunger, you have the drive, you're able to commit to it more. I suppose in a way it probably puts a little bit more pressure on you, because if you go 2 meetings without riding a winner, or a week without riding a winner, all of a sudden you think,
it feels like forever.
Yeah, exactly. And especially in Hong Kong, you're either a lucky jockey or you're not. So you need to be riding winners all the time to maintain the support and be able to pick up extra rides. So you get to a point, and I see a lot of new jockeys come in, and you can just see that the frustration and disappointment in their face and their mannerisms, because maybe they're not riding as many winners as they used to, or it's incredibly difficult to get on the right horses. We only have 18 races per week, and when you've got Joe taking the best chances in most races, and then I pick up some rides, then you've got other jockeys there as well that have their support and their trainers. There really aren't too many options around, too many opportunities. And if you're a lightweight jockey, you can ride 113 pounds. You do get a few opportunities, so you can kick off and get going and start to build your momentum. But if you come in and you only ride 120 pounds or above, like myself and most jockeys there, it's really hard to get the opportunities unless you know one of the trainers or you know the owners personally. So to break in, it can be really hard, and it's very testing in that regard. You've got to maintain the belief in yourself. You've got to stay confident in your own ability, and if you think you're good enough, well, sooner or later you do get the opportunities, and if you stick it out and you're willing to work hard, well, over a period of time, things will happen. But because it doesn't happen overnight, you see the confidence in a lot of jockeys, it gets broken, and understandably so.
What would be a little bit of advice to a young up and coming apprentice that